It's the Scotty Myers Show.
Hey, welcome to the show this week. I'm your host, Scotty Myers. Actually on the road again this week. It's been a little while since I've done a show from the road. Of course, obviously, with everything being shut down and locked down and all that work had, well, basically come to a standstill, and I wasn't working. I had to go back to work, which meant I had to travel, which meant I had to fly. And I'm not going to lie to you, there was some anxiousness about that, like getting on a plane. I haven't been on a plane in a while. What's it going to be like? What's the mood in an airport going to be like, or anything like that? First thing I will say, I had to fly 3 different airlines to get where I was going. First thing I will say is the airlines are doing, at least the ones I dealt with, an incredible job. They're doing everything they can to make you feel safe and comfortable and secure. They've gotten rid of some of the kind of dumb things like the little cups. Now, if you want to drink, they just give you a whole can of pop if that's what you want, or a little bottle of water, which is great. You know, I get water and usually the little cup doesn't have much in it. So I love that. I know it's a small thing, but it's just one of those little things, right? But I felt very safe and secure in the plane and on the flights themselves. You could smell the sanitizer in the plane when you got on. So that part of it, surprisingly easy. And I didn't really, have to deal with anything there. The thing that was creepy were airports. And not that they weren't, clean and that things weren't being taken care of, because they definitely were. It's just there's nobody in them. Like, there's literally nobody in an airport right now. It's very much like when you watch any type of movie and then it's apocalypse in the movie and they, go into a mall or they go into somewhere that's usually bustling with people and it's eerily quiet. And that's what airports are like right now. And it's weird. It's very bizarre feeling. Like, that made me almost more unsettled than anything else. But really, overall, I got to say, I thought this would be a story of travel that was, this is one for the record books of how shitty this travel was. And I got to say, it was actually the opposite. Some of this travel was better than pre-coronavirus, if you can believe that. But it really was. The boarding of the airplane was more orderly. They boarded it from like back to front, which makes so much more sense in my mind. I don't know why they don't do that all the time, but it just seemed like everything ran smoother right now for whatever reason. And maybe that's because everybody's trying to be on high alert and maybe that's the state we have to be in going forward. Maybe we have to be on not this nervous, panicked high alert, but just taking those couple of extra steps to, make sure that everybody's safe and everybody feels safe. I gotta say, it was a great job by the airlines that I had to travel. So kudos to them. Now, the one thing I will say though, it was hotels. Getting back to those on the road, they're clean and all that kind of stuff. I can't complain about the hotels really, but I walked into a very bizarre situation in the hotel that I was staying in. I get into the hotel, I walk in to check in, pulling my little bag behind me. Walk into 3 police officers with a guy in handcuffs. I walked into an episode of Cops. Like, I really did. Because the guy was kind of talking in circles. Like, whenever you watch Cops and they're arresting somebody, the person's talking in circles. And the police officer in this case was being very calm with him. It wasn't elevating at all. But the guy was like, the person under arrest was sitting there, I just want to be helpful. And what I heard was the cop said, well, you asked for a lawyer, so I really can't talk to you anymore. Now we have to wait and go through the process of a lawyer. And the guy kept going, no, I just want to be helpful. Like, I didn't do anything wrong. I just want to make this as easy as possible. And the police officer was like, can't, sorry. So I'm standing there looking at this, looking at the guy behind the counter, waiting to check in. And I'm like, I'm just going to go outside. So I actually went outside and waited, and I was outside so long, I had to do a conference call, like a Zoom meeting outside. So that was a bit interesting. Eventually checked into my room and all that, and that was fine. leave, go do some of the work that I had to do, pick up dinner, come back to the hotel, literally shut the door to my room, put the bag of food on the desk, and I hear a boom, 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 boom across the hall. And I'm like, holy shit, what's going on? It was the police department with search warrants. And I was like, oh my God, I don't know what's going on. Like, are they going to knock on do they have one for my, if they did, please come right in. But, and then like crazy thoughts went through my head of like, do I have to like get on the floor in case shots get fired across the, like, just really weird thoughts that were going through my head. And they did it to like 3 rooms. I could hear it every time. The boom, boom, boom. Police, we have a search warrant. If anybody's inside the room, please come out now. And they would do that like 3 times. And I noticed they did it each time 3 times. So bang, bang, bang. Please come out. Bang, bang, bang. And I don't know if that's protocol or that just, maybe this particular police officer had a little OCD with that. I don't know. But it threw me for a loop. It really did. Like, it was bizarro to me. And so I got through that. And thankfully, they did not have to search my room. Not that they would have found anything anyway, but I just really wanted to eat my dinner. I was very, very hungry. That was my biggest fear, was like, I'm going to be here cutting into this steak that I got and, bang, bang, bang. And then my steak's going to get cold. Listen, I was very, very hungry. So anyway, that's that experience. I will say, though, if for some reason it comes up that you have to travel, or they start to loosen restrictions on travel, my experience so far has been it's not that bad. So if there is somewhere that you're kind of dying to go, maybe it'll be worth it for you if you're in the mindset of that. And that's the one thing that's kind of been driving me nuts, especially on social media, is some people talking about, they want to go get a haircut, let's say, as an example, and where they live, they can't get a haircut. And if you post something like that, just look at the comments. It's people like, oh, me too. And then you get the conspiracy people. And then you get the people like, no, it's too soon, blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, I don't think we need to shit on people because they want to go get a haircut. And, they probably can't. If they want to go get one, they probably can't. Those services aren't open yet. And I think there's a little bit of everybody's own personal comfort that we don't necessarily need to shit on. As long as we're taking preventative steps, then, if the government and everybody deems like, hey, it's okay, you can go get a haircut. And there's all these preventative steps that you as the customer have to take and the salon has to take as well. Deal with it. Let's see what, I just don't think it's right to shit on somebody else's opinion on what they want to do. Anyway, that's just my take on that. But back to the travel thing, because we got big news. It happened right after we did the show last week. They announced that Universal Studios in Florida was reopening, and they're actually opening soon, like June 5th. And it was kind of surprising that Universal, I don't want to say beat Disney to the punch, but they did. Like they're opening their park, and Disney has finally told us how they're going to reopen, and it's not going to be for a little while. It's not going to be until June 11th for Magic Kingdom and Animal Kingdom, and then June 15th for Hollywood Studios and Epcot. Not sure why the break is in there between the 4 parks. In my mind, it would make sense to have all 4 parks open at the same time. It's probably a staffing issue, but just spread out the people more. But anyway, there are some rules that you're going to have to follow if you are going to go check it out. Masks have to be worn the whole time, which in the humid summer in Florida is going to be kind of shitty. I'm not going to lie. I want to go to the parks more than anything. And if I can, I will. I'm not going to look forward to wearing the mask. I will, but in the humidity, it's going to be crappy. And the people working there will be wearing masks as well. They're going to have reduced capacity. They're going to have no parades, fireworks, or any other gathering type event. So sometimes some of the shows they put on that congregates a lot of people all together, they're not going to do those. Cashless transactions, which I think we could all see coming a mile away. We're basically doing that, I think, pretty much everywhere anyway. If we ever wanted something that was going to kill money, like cash money, I think this is it. And then there's going to be more hand sanitizer stations littered throughout the parks, so you can, keep your hands sanitized and clean. And those are kind of the big points of their reopening platform. Now, it still has to be approved by a couple of the governing bodies in Florida. But my mind says if Disney's putting this out there, they probably know it's going to be approved. It's very similar to the plan that Universal put forward that has been approved. So I don't see any governing body going, you know what, Disney, you got to take this back to the drawing board. They are their tourism draw for Central Florida. So it's like, yeah, they're going to let it happen. I'm just amazed that it's going to be over a month after Universal, which I guess in a way gives Disney the opportunity to see what happens at Universal. Instead of Disney creating their own guinea pig, Universal's going to be Disney's guinea pig. And if everything goes, and I hope everything goes well at Universal, great. But if something doesn't seem to work correctly, then Disney can either tweak or, again, maybe delay their opening if need be. So I'll be curious to see what happens when Disney opens. I'm crossing my fingers that I can get down there sooner rather than later. I really wanted to be there the first day they opened, but the fact that Hollywood Studios won't be opened, so Galaxy's Edge won't be open, those types of things, as much as I want to go to Magic Kingdom and Animal Kingdom, I might wait the 4 days. If I can even get down there in July. But if I could, I want to wait till all 4 parks are open for sure. On to the off story of the week. And this one is weird. The story is a man was arrested after stealing and having sex with 126 pairs of flip-flops. Now, if you have listened to the show, you know that I think feet are disgusting. And to me, flip-flops are a small notch above slippers as being potentially the most disgusting things on the planet. Think about when you wear flip-flops, right? You wear them when you're sweaty in the warm weather. You don't care if you walk through puddles with them, if you walk into water with them. So there's mildew, there's moisture, there's your dead skin from the bottom of your feet. It's just sick. A flip-flop is just sick. There's no two ways around it. They're disgusting. And then sandals are just a notch above flip-flops. But this guy, he loved them. Apparently, he was filmed lurking outside his latest victim's house, and then authorities apprehended him. And he admitted that at his house, he had 126 pairs of flip-flops that he had been taking for the last 2 years. And it wasn't just like he took them home, and I don't know how he had sex with them. Probably just jerked off on them. But he said he would, before he had sex with them, he would caress them and kiss them and rub them and make them feel special. Just picture in your head taking a flip-flop and yeah, a big old lick on it. Turns my stomach even just thinking about it. I don't know what you do with this guy. I mean, obviously he's a thief. You throw him in jail, but I think in my mind, what he's been doing to himself is worse than anything that's going to happen to him in prison. Offs. On to our geek news of the week. Not a big week for geek news. We didn't get a lot of new info, mostly because the Snyder Cut is dominating geek culture right now. People are over the moon that we are going to get Zack Snyder's version of Justice League. Now, a couple of little things I did read. We're not 100% sure how we're going to get it yet. We are getting it on HBO Max, the new streaming service, but it's either going to be a complete film or they might break it up into a miniseries, because apparently Snyder's version is at least 4 hours long. and because of the way they're releasing this, he's pretty much going to get to keep everything in there, which is sweet. And it has been confirmed online. Little spoiler for you, but this has been hinted at for a long time. We do get Darkseid in this movie, which is phenomenal. So that's a little bit of tidbit. Ray Fisher, who plays Cyborg, he cried when he found out that the Snyder Cut was coming. And he says Cyborg's story is really going to be emotional for some people. So I can't wait to see them fill in all the gaps in Cyborg's story. The fact that we're getting this movie just blows me away. But the good news continues for DC fans, because they have announced they have struck a deal with Henry Cavill to come back as Superman going forward, not just in the Snyder Cut, but going forward. Now, the deal right now, the way it's set up, is just to have Henry Cavill kind of dropping cameos in some upcoming DC movies. If you want to make a comparison to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, maybe the way Hulk showed up in a few different movies here and there, like, you know, the Avengers movies, Thor Ragnarok, Hulk kind of popped up all over the place. That's kind of the way the deal seems to be worded and structured for Cavill's Superman. It doesn't eliminate the possibility of a Man of Steel 2. It's just right now that's not been announced. I would not doubt if that is in the works, though, because you remember they had that announcement a little while ago that they were shifting gears from a Supergirl movie to a Superman movie. And why would you do that and then re-sign a guy to be Superman if you didn't plan on him being Superman in your next Superman movie? It would make no sense. So rumors are starting to swirl out of Warner Brothers as to when we're going to see Cavill return to the Superman role. And there's 3 leading movie choices. Obviously, Suicide Squad. That's a big one. I don't know how Superman fits in the squad, to be totally honest. Suicide Squad's kind of out on their own limb. So I have no issues with Superman showing up in Suicide Squad, but it wouldn't be my first choice if I was dropping him into one. Aquaman 2. That one works really, really well. Obviously, they know each other from the Justice League movie. And going, I don't know which one's going to be considered the canon of the DCEU, if it's going to be a theatrical version of the Snyder Cut. That leaves a lot of questions open. But the Aquaman 2 one, to me, seems like the best fit. Or Pattinson's The Batman movie. Maybe Superman shows up to help his buddy. The only problem with that is this is going to be a younger Batman, not the Batman that Superman has met in the films. So if we're continuing the story that we know so far, which, you know, even if they're not continuing the team ups, this Superman has already met a Batman. So I have an issue with that one too. Just logistically, there's ways to make it work, but it requires a lot of work. So my bet out of those 3 would be Aquaman 2. I think that one makes the most sense. It's too late to obviously put him in Wonder Woman 84. That one would be ideal, but the release is too soon to even film something and tag it on the end of it. Although that would be a great surprise if the post credits of Wonder Woman 84 had Superman show up. Anyway, because the hashtag release the Snyder Cut was successful and we're getting the Snyder Cut, other hashtags have now taken over the world. Hashtag release the Ayer Cut is out there for David Ayer's original edit of his Suicide Squad movie, which featured a lot more Joker and was very different, apparently, than what we got in the theater. Ayer has said his cut does exist. It's not a mythical thing. And it wouldn't take much to put it on like an HBO Max or something like that. I don't know if we're going to get that one. Granted, I didn't know that we were ever going to get the Snyder Cut of Justice League, but the only thing that I see being a major stumbling block for David Ayer's cut of Suicide Squad is that we have another Suicide Squad movie coming, and one by James Gunn, which they are saying not a sequel, but even though it carries over some characters and whatnot. So I don't know how that one will work. I think you could still release it since Gunn's movie is not a sequel and apparently not a reboot. It's just a new thing. which fits Suicide Squad because their stories can be fresh, each one. Like, each film doesn't have to be connected to the other. Again, if I'm Warner Brothers and I've got this new streaming service and people want to see David Ayer's version of Suicide Squad, fucking do it. You know, maybe, again, the Justice League cut is getting like 30 plus million to finish up. Ayer says his would not cost that much. So I would do it. Warner Brothers, if you're listening, get the Ayer cut out there. Why the hell not? Another hashtag that was taking over Twitter to try to get movies made that maybe necessarily are never going to get made was hashtag make Solo 2 happen. We had the anniversary of the Solo movie release, and fans were saying, you know what, we need the sequel. The ending of that movie sets up the sequel so perfectly and so coolly. We need the sequel. This one, I think, has like almost no chance of happening. I never want to say never, especially after what just happened, but Solo was not well received at the box office. I thought it was good. I thought it was a hell of a time. I always gauge Star Wars movies really by, did I leave with a giant smile on my face because I was teleported away to the galaxy far, far away? And I definitely left Solo with a smile on my face. The only time I've never left a Star Wars movie with a smile on my face was The Last Jedi. So I would be okay with a Solo 2 film, but it was so kind of at least mixed bag on the reviews of it, and it did poorly in Star Wars comparisons. Some movies would kill to have the numbers that Solo did when it comes to the box office, but in the Star Wars world, it underperformed big time. So I don't see Disney rushing back to that well to make Solo 2 happen. But as we've seen, crazier things can happen with the power of hashtags. And the last little bit of geek news this week, Guardians of the Galaxy 3. A rumor popped up. One of the theater chains in the States tweeted out a little tweet just about the first Guardians of the Galaxy. And then they went on to say, we'll get to see them again in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 in 2021. And everyone went, oh shit, okay, great. 2021, we're getting the third Guardians movie. That's fantastic. James Gunn quickly went to Twitter and was like, wait a minute. No, that's not coming in 2021 unless they've been filming it without me, which, since he's the director, I don't think has been happening. So it doesn't look like we're going to get Guardians 3. He said numerous times that he is not going to start Guardians Volume 3 until he is done with the Suicide Squad movie. And obviously that's been a little bit delayed finishing that up. I know he's editing, but I'm sure there's going to be some work that needs to be done to finish it up. And that's been delayed probably a little bit. So going to have to wait a little bit longer for the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Don't forget to continue to check out the website that we launched, ScottyMarsMedia.com. Go give that a look. Continue to subscribe. Keep sharing this podcast with all your friends and family members, and just annoy people with it, please. One of my favorite things, to annoy people. And you can always reach out to me as well on our social media channels, The Scotty Mars Show on Facebook and Instagram, and at Scotty Mars on Twitter. And that'll do it until we chat again. Have a great week.